All right, good morning. Parole boards to be called to order. Today's date is the 11th of July, 2004. It is currently 9 o'clock, 2024. Thank you. Everybody's laughing at me. My colleagues today on the panel will be Sheriff Prater to my left, Mr. Tillis to my right. With staff at headquarters, please introduce yourself.
Sure.
And Francis Abbott.
Okay, Warden, would you introduce yourself and anybody else at the prison?
Yes, sir. Good morning. Donnie Bardwell, Warden.
Christy LeBlanc, classification.
Joe Buttress, Assistant Warden.
Okay, Mr. Bell, would you state your full name and your DLC number?
RONALD BELL, 292717.
All right, Mr. Bell, today you're here for your parole hearing. You had received a 45-year sentence for armed robbery and aggravated battery, which was habitual. Does that information sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You had a parole date of 8/1/2021, and your full term date is 1/26/45. We're gonna let you speak first today. Tell us a little about what you did and why you think we should let you go.
Since I've been in prison, I've been taking care of looking in for my life. Took up my mental health medication. I changed my medication, everything. They got that right for me. I stopped using drugs. I've been in all the programs. And I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to be free.
Tell me about a little bit about your offenses and why they were committed.
I committed an armed robbery charge, aggravated battery charge, because I was strung out on drugs. I was doing drugs real bad in the world. And I couldn't control myself.
All right. You have no one there to speak in your behalf, no attorney. So I'm going to turn your case over to Mr. Prater. It was assigned to him, so he'll get into more detailed questioning. And Warden, do you have anything to say?
Yes, sir. I actually know Mr. Bell from previous facilities. You know, he's had some struggles over the years with disciplinary problems, substance abuse problems. He has seemed like he's turned a new leaf. Around September 22 was his last write-up. So I think he's trying, and I think he's on the right track. He doesn't have a lack of programming, but he's trying. He's on the right track.
Okay, thank you, Warden. Okay, now, Prater.
Okay, Mr. Bell, good morning. How are you?
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing good, doing good. You got an uphill struggle with me, okay? Because of the fact that you got 5, 6 write-ups in 2022. Tell me what's going on with you.
At that time and point, I was going through mental health, and she was trying to figure out what kind of medication I was supposed to be on. They had me on Milaril, they had me on Cinequans, and she finally got me on the Thorazine and the Benadryls. So the Thorazine and the Benadryls are corresponding with me. So since I've been taking the Thorazine and the Benadryls, everything been good with me.
Okay. Let's see. A fellow named Douglas Edney, Jason Guidry, probation and parole officer. Jason Guidry wrote this, and I couldn't have said it any better. Tell me about yourself after I read this couple of sentences. Ronald Bell has been convicted of crimes of violence 3 times. He also has multiple violent offenses that were dismissed. Ronald Bell's been under felony supervision 5 times. 3 times he was revoked due to criminal continued activity. The other 2 cases, but you were in jail at those times. So every time we've let you out, you have actually screwed up, had to go back in. So with your history of violence, your history of not being able to be supervised, your most recent violations while in custody, and the fact that you bloodedly just stabbed this professor while he was at work. Tell me why we should trust you.
Because that person no longer exists. That person that don't longer exist in me. I'm a whole different person. I finally got myself together. I finally knew what was wrong. It was my mental. It was my mental. It wasn't with me at all. I was doing it because I couldn't control myself. So when I finally got the medication right, I'm ready.
Okay, that's all I got.
Warden, y'all have anyone there from medical could tell us about his mental health condition? Do you know what level he is?
Have anybody here, but we did speak to Dr. Fleming this morning. He is a level of care 4, which is not, the 1, 2, and 3s or the more severe. So he's a level of care 4. He was diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder and synthetic cannabis use disorder. And he is on medication, but according to Dr. Fleming, he is stable and able to participate in programs. And he was unable to do so because he had the disciplinary issues.
Correct. Okay, I have nothing. I have no questions. Okay, the panel's ready to vote. We'll have Mr. Prater, since he was assigned your case, vote first.
Okay, Mr. Bell, I'm gonna vote that your parole be denied because of your history of violence and because of your most recent infractions and your inability to be supervised. Once you have been given a break, you be out. So for those reasons, I'm voting that your parole be denied.
Mr. Tiller?
Mr. Bell, it seems like you're getting back on track, and that's impressive. My vote's going to be to deny today also, but I hope you continue on that and come back and see us.
And I concur with my colleagues. I think we need to work on the disciplinary a little bit, and I know the warden will help you out. So thank you and good luck to you. But is that the only one there? Okay, so we'll close out at Hunt at 9:07. Thank you, Warden.
Mr. Chairman, we have 2 more, I believe.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
Here we go. Kevin Jones. Okay, we're back in order. Okay, we're back in order. We're back at Hunt Corrections Center. Today's date is still June 11th, 2024. My name is July 24, 2024. And my name is Pete Freeman. I'll be serving as your chairman today. Mr. Prater is to my right, and Mr. Tillis is, to my left, and Mr. Tillis is to my right. Boy, I'm kind of confused this morning. And okay. So what we're gonna do is, I see you have a law student and with you. Do you want her to do the opening statement and you do the closing?
Yes, sir. Would you like me to introduce her for the record?
Yes, ma'am. Please, please, we'll let everybody in there introduce themselves for the record. Go on and start now.
Y'all want to start?
We are.
Oh, okay. Adrienne Hutchison here on behalf of the LSU Law Parole and Reentry Clinic. Today I have a recent law graduate, Pete Headley, who was a student in the LSU clinic. She is Louisiana Supreme Court Rule 20 certified. She will make the opening statement, and then I will make the statement where the board deems necessary for the
Hey, pronounce her name again, please, ma'am. What's her name?
Okay.
It's peach, like the fruit,
Okay.
and the last name is Hadley, Hadley.
Where are you from? You're not from Livonia, huh?
I'm not, no, sorry.
Okay, everybody else, would you still introduce yourself also? People in the back?
My name is Kevin Amble. I'm the chief of police here in the city of San Gabriel.
Okay, and the gentleman sitting next to you.
My name is Jasmine Clark. I'm a captain and detective for the city of San Gabriel.
Okay, sir, will you state your name and DOC number for the record?
Kevin Jones, 351844.
Okay, Mr. Jones, today you are here for your parole hearing. Trying to get to your dates. All right, you were sentenced back in what's it? You're sentenced to second-degree murder. You got a life sentence. It was commuted to 99 years, therefore making you eligible for parole. Your parole date was 3/6/2024. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Peach, I'm going to let you make the opening statement now.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the panel, once again, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As I mentioned previously, my name is Peach Hadley, and I am a recent graduate of LSU Law, where I participated in the LSU Parole and Reentry Clinic. Over the past few months, I've had the privilege of working closely with Mr. Kevin Jones as he prepares for this hearing. I am Rule 20 certified, as was mentioned by the Louisiana Supreme Court, and I'm here today to represent Kevin under the supervision of Ms. Adrienne Hutchinson. Kevin committed a horrendous crime when he was 21 years old. Today, he will provide you with an overview of his remarkable journey of rehabilitation and his preparedness for release. He is no longer a threat to public safety and is prepared to serve his remaining sentence under community supervision. Kevin is now a 52-year-old man who has spent more than 30 years of his life in prison. He comes before you today as a transformed man with a low Tiger score, the risk assessment adopted by the Louisiana Department of Corrections, which indicates he has virtually no risk of recidivism and no longer needs to be incarcerated to prevent any future criminal behavior. Kevin dedicated his time in prison to personal growth and rehabilitation. His commitment to transformation began long before he had any hope of leaving prison. His dedication to becoming a better man was driven not by the prospect of parole, but by a sincere desire to atone for his past. That sincerity is reflected in many ways, including Kevin's exemplary conduct record. He has been institutionally compliant for over a decade, a fact which speaks volumes about his respect for rules, his dedication to personal discipline, and especially the fact that he is not a risk to reoffend in the community. Additionally, Kevin has worked for the St. Gabriel Police Department for more than 6 years, repeatedly garnering high praise from the department for his dedication and his character. Their presence and support at his hearing today underscore the trust and the respect that he has earned from them. As someone with a background in law enforcement myself, I understand the significance of the support Kevin has received from the police department. They see in him the same rehabilitated and good man that I see. In addition to his conduct, Kevin's creative and community work further significantly highlight the depth of his transformation. His primary creative work is in writing, which he first discovered a passion for through various rehabilitative programs and classes at the prison. Through these programs, Kevin learned the emotional and therapeutic benefits of writing, which soon became an integral part of his daily life. Writing has provided him with discipline, a mechanism for self-reflection and productive expression, and communication skills that allow him to avoid and navigate conflict. Kevin's artistic talents extend beyond writing to include airbrushing, oil painting, wood burning, and leatherwork. These skills have become a beloved part of his identity. These creative outlets have provided Kevin with avenues for healthy emotional expression and the ability to form meaningful connections with fellow inmates and the broader community. Through his artwork, Kevin has mentored younger inmates, sharing valuable creative skills and providing emotional support and guidance. One of his mentees even wrote a letter of support, further underscoring his impact. Kevin has also volunteered his artistic talents to the city of St. Gabriel, painting decorations for various festivals and city events. The trust placed in him by the community demonstrates the authority's recognition of Kevin as a trusted individual who can work outside in the public without being a safety risk. Kevin has a commitment to community service that extends beyond donating his artistic talents. He has consistently volunteered to help and serve the public during several natural emergencies, including multiple hurricanes and the 2016 historic flood. Education has been another cornerstone of Kevin's rehabilitation. He earned his GED while incarcerated, and he is a voracious reader, constantly expanding his mind and his understanding of the world around him. Over the past few months at our meetings, he often shared profound quotes with me. One that always particularly stood out was, "If you pray for the rain, you've got to be ready to dance in the storm." Kevin said this to me at our first meeting, and it is a mindset he consistently embodies, demonstrating his resilience and his preparedness to face life's challenges head on. Kevin has a reentry plan that will ensure his success upon release. Importantly, he will not be returning to Rapides Parish where his crime occurred. Instead, he will be moving to Connecticut to live with his family, ensuring a fresh start in a supportive environment. He has a job interview lined up at a stoning company, as well as plans to join and eventually take over the family trucking business. Kevin has strong support from Louisiana Parole Project, as well as from his loving family, including his mother, his stepfather, and his younger brother. His stepfather has even expressed wanting to formally adopt him should Kevin be granted parole. And Kevin has expressed excitement about continuing his mentorship role and sharing his artistic talents with his younger brother. Kevin fully understands and accepts the responsibility for the crime he committed and for the immense harm that it caused. He has spent the past 3 decades working tirelessly to atone for his past actions and to become a man who contributes positively to society. I urge you to consider his profound personal growth, his extensive rehabilitative efforts, and his solid reentry plan as you deliberate this case. Please also ask any additional questions that you may need to confirm that Kevin, the man who sits before you today, is no longer the person he was 30 years ago. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, next we're gonna hear from the offender himself. Mr. Jones, I need you to tell me why you think we should let you out today. And also I want you to tell us a little bit about the offense, what you did, why you did it, and what was going on in your life at that time. So the floor is all yours. Say everything that's on your mind.
Thank you. First of all, I appreciate you being here today. early on in my life, you know, I was subject to violence, mental and physical. It created an anger in me that I didn't know how to ask for help. And it grew to the point where I didn't trust any authority figures. I didn't trust counselors. I didn't trust anybody. You know, I didn't trust myself. I was subject to a lot of peer pressure, always into doing the wrong things. My anger grew as I grew. And my anger became my life, to the point where I was angry all the time. I was angry at everybody. I felt like the world owed me. I didn't owe the world anything. I was angry with my mom. I was angry with family, friends, and I destroyed a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships. I destroyed, the understanding and the wanting for people to help me. I wouldn't let it. My anger and my attitude was too far gone. My anger came to a head on September 13th, 1993. I had been sent home from work after working 12 hours, two 12-hour shifts at McDonald's. The corporate office sent me home stating that I had worked too many hours. I had contacted the babysitter and asked if my son was there. She affirmed. I picked him up and he was crying, which was unlike him. You know, he wasn't a cry. He wasn't crying. He wasn't a baby that cried even when he missed his diaper. And when I brought him home, his mother had another male in the house, and my temper exploded. I lost it. My son was crying. I didn't have the patience. I wasn't his father. I was a man holding a child, mad at the mother for for bringing a man home. My temper exploded. And my mom had told me that sometimes you have to let a baby cry. And I tossed my son into his crib from short distance. But the fact is I tossed my son into his crib. I went into the living room and gave my food to my dogs, lit a cigarette. And that's when I realized my son wasn't crying anymore. I went back into the bedroom and saw that he was just laying there. I picked him up and he was limp. I ran into the living room, grabbed a blanket and placed him on the floor, and he was just shaking. I didn't have a phone. I ran across the street and begged the neighbors to call 911. I ran back into the house and he wasn't breathing. And I attempted CPR. I knew not to use two hands, but I did use one hand to do chest compressions. And I tried to breathe a short amount of breath. The ambulance showed up later on, took over, and went to the hospital. Then that's when I found that he had suffered a head injury, a 2-inch skull fracture. I was arrested about 30 minutes later for the attempted first-degree murder of my son. I had later found out through several testimonies that my act was heinous. I wasn't my son's father. A father's supposed to protect their children, to teach them, to help them grow and to nurture them. And I wasn't that man. My son needed me and I wasn't there for him. And instead I hurt him. I've lived with that terror and that trauma my entire life, every day, every minute. I knew that I needed help. I knew that I needed to sustain. I needed something to do. I'm sorry, excuse me. I know that I needed to control my anger. I needed to learn. And I needed to be a better man, a better son, a better friend. And when I entered Angola, I wasn't illiterate, but I wasn't exactly an educated man. And I received my GED. At the time in the early 90s, lifers weren't really put into a lot of classes. But that didn't stop me. I sought out books from the state library dealing with, the mental issues of anger, dealing with the mental issues of being, I'm sorry, excuse me. But it's in these books that I began my rehabilitation. I began to understand why was I so mad. And I wasn't mad. My mom has only been a mother as long as I've been a son. My mom was subject to the same abuse, the same violence that I was. And my mom did everything that she could possibly do to help me, although I didn't listen. My mom has always been my strongest advocate. As I started reading and I started, learning that I was mad with myself. I had the opportunities. I had people that were willing to help me. I just didn't listen. And I learned and realized that my anger was bent on myself. I was angry. I felt that I was at fault that why I was going through the pains that I was growing up with. I learned how to control my anger. I have a non-existing anger issue now. I've learned to be humble. I've learned to be friends with people, to help people, something I never did. I'm able to joyfully interact with, with the younger generation. And I do my best to try to steer them in the right direction and tell them my story on how I cope and how I change. Entering anger management was very powerful for me because it helped me to cope with why am I angry? How can I change that anger? How can I change me? When victim impact was first offered here at Correctional, I wasn't in the first class, but I did enter the second class. And victim impact is the most emotionally, most challenging, most devastating class that anyone should go through. And I think it should be a requirement for every offender in DOC to take. Victim impact gives you the insight on victims of all crime, not just murder, and not just, a physical victim, mentally. I learned how to see that my son's mother and her family aren't the only victims. My mother's a victim, my family, my friends, those around me, the community are all victims behind my, losing my temper, behind my anger. I have since made, amends with my family, and I wanted to become the son, the friend, the person that I know that I can be, and I know that I am now today. What I did was heinous. What I did was wrong, and I can't change it. I wish I could.
Okay, we appreciate that statement. Thank you. Next, Warden, do you have anything that you would like for us to know?
Yes, sir. As you've heard, he's got an outstanding institutional record. He hasn't had a disciplinary report in over a decade. He works as a trustee for St. Gabriel Police Department. He's taken a lot of courses, a lot of programs, even before he even had a parole eligibility date. So he's definitely on the right track and doing the right things here.
Okay, thank you, Warden. Mr. Kerry Myers from the Parole Project.
Good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We've been working with Mr. Jones for some time now, and what we know stands out is the fact that he and I'm not going to speak to, he expressed it too well, and so did Miss Hadley, of all his accomplishments. But what he's shown is the character. We will, we know that after 30 plus years in prison, he's going to need support initially to adjust. He does have a ICOTS that's already approved to go to his family in Connecticut. But we're going to be here to help him through that first 4 to 5 weeks when he needs it the most, which is the most critical time when someone who served that much time is released. And we'll be supporting him through the programs that we can provide and the mentorship that we can provide. During that time, he'll have someone with him constantly. Every day, he'll have a mentor with him. He'll be in classes. He'll be having that transition that he needs to learn the things that he needs to adjust to society. We would just ask this board to consider all his accomplishments in his rehabilitation, his reentry plan, and grant his parole today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Meyer. Okay, and now we will have Deborah Love, his mother. Can't hear you, Miss Love.
I'm sorry. I'm not computer.
Gotcha. What do you want us to know, Miss Love?
My son was not easy to raise due to our circumstances. Yes. There was some violence. There was a lot of underlying issues. But I tried to do the best that I could. And he just was very resilient to any kind of suggestions or assistance. On September 1993, I lost both my son and my grandson on the same day. But over the last 30 years, talking to Kevin, visiting with Kevin, he has achieved peacefulness, not only with his GED education and reading and writing, but he has become the son that any mother wants. He's supportive to me. He's shown me, the PD. He works there. They like him. I have on visits talked to a couple of the guards and the wardens, and they expressed good thoughts about him. So it isn't just him pulling the wool over mama's eyes. He is a good man. And I'm asking you to please grant him parole so that he can come home. It's important to me that that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Love. Appreciate you sharing that with us. Jasmine Clark, a friend.
Captain Clark, St. Gabriel Police Department. I worked with Kevin for about 6 years while he was with trustee at the PD. And in that time, he's become sort of a co-worker. We've had conversations. I don't think Kevin has a mean bone in his body. He's very respectful and has shown himself to be trustworthy. I believe that if given the opportunity to be released, that he will be a law-abiding citizen. And I don't think that he will ever do anything to risk his freedom again. Thank you.
And Ms. Hutchinson, would you like to give your closing statement?
Sure. I believe Ms. Hadley did an amazing job covering all the bases of Kevin's vocational and work ethic, his reentry plan and his community service, and also his low risk of recidivism. I think Kevin expressed well how his programming has impacted him in parenting classes, anger management, and victim impact. I think Carrie's also explained Kevin's plan when it comes to Louisiana Parole Project. And his mom and the St. Gabriel Police Department have given great character references to the man he is today. So I won't take much more of your time. We just ask that this board give Kevin the opportunity to serve out the remainder of the sentence on parole and give him a second chance with any restrictions that this board deems necessary. Thank you.
Thank you much. Mr. Prater, you were assigned the case, so we'll let you do the questioning first.
Okay, Mr. Jones, good morning and good morning to everyone there. Tell me, I'm curious about the previous injuries to the child, to the baby, to your son. Tell me about that.
When I had learned, when the pediatrician and the doctors, emergency room doctors came in and told me he had a 2-inch skull fracture and had severe cerebral edema hemorrhage. By me tossing my son in my crib, I thought that I had indeed inflicted that injury. It was during trial when Dr. McCormick, Dr. Patton, a neurologist, stated that what I did was a minor, not even a superficial bruise, that injury could not have caused that skull fracture. I did not beat or pulverize, as it was said in trial. That what I did was wrong. The injury was a pre-existing injury. It was an injury that was specified to be 72 to 96 hours old, which was 3 to 5 days. My son was not in my care, though, due to my work schedules, was not in my care during those 3 to 5 days.
Okay, well, are you through? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Okay, were you through with the statement about the previous injuries?
I'm sorry, sir. Were you done with this? Oh, yes.
Okay, let me ask you then about the Cochrans that say that they witnessed Kevin shaking the baby and hitting the baby in its stomach and shaking it violently. One time you were alone in the bathroom with the baby and you screamed for help and you came out and the baby was bleeding from its mouth at that time, but you never told them what had happened to the baby. I mean, that's some pretty damning testimony according to the police report. I was not there in court. What about those times?
When I was giving him a bath and he was bleeding from his gums, I had screamed. I didn't know what the problem was or why was he bleeding. When I called for Buddy and Pamela Cochran, who were our roommates at the time, we took him to the emergency room and then to the pediatrician the next morning. Dr. Burma stated that he had a tendency, he had small little cuts on the inside of his mouth, and she said that it was deemed that he had cut the top of his mouth with his nails biting on his hands.
And what about the violent shaking and hitting in the stomach?
That if you read, one time I was playing with Angela when she was pregnant, and I got a little rough with her when he was crying. I was upset, and I said, "Why won't you, just eat?" He wouldn't eat. I had, again, my temper had, overtaken, and I didn't, shake, but I did, express my frustration.
Okay. Okay, well, our job here is not to decide your guilt or innocence for the crime, but we just want to know your mindset, and that's what I'm curious about. Let's see, I noticed you have some victim opposition. I know the police department there in St. Gabriel is says that you're a great guy, but Chief Grimion from Alexandria PD, he is very much against your parole. The DA is against it. The sheriff is against it. You have a strong letter from the mother of the child, or the grandmother of the child, against it. And I just wanted to, and the chief of police there in Alexandria against it. So I just wanted to mention that too, in addition to the people in the court. That's all.
You have anything, Mr.
I have no
Thomas?
questions.
I have no questions either. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yep.
Okay, we're going and vote now.
Okay, Mr. Jones, it takes 2 out of 3 to get you paroled or not paroled or whatever. It's a simple majority at this time, but and we hadn't talked about this, but because of you've done a great job. You've been model prisoner. Everybody likes you that's talked today, and I'm sure that you have gotten a lot of help for what you've done. But at some point, it's not just where you rehabilitated. At some point is, have you served the time that the judge ordered you to serve? So it's not just, are you back to normal like the rest of us, where you're not gonna hurt somebody, but it's at some point, you got to take into account the victims, the grandmother, the mother. And so that's what I'm thinking of. And without belaboring the point, at this point, I'm going to encourage you to apply again. But at this point, I can't do anything but just deny you. So, yeah.
Mr. Tiller?
Mr. Jones, I'm sure it's very hard to lose a son. What you did was not good. Was not a good thing to do. I really see and have listened to your remorse. And I'm sure you've lived with this crime 30 years. You've been incarcerated 30 years.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You've done some good things. My decision today is to grant you parole, and with conditions that you go to LPP, Parole Project.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Jones, I've listened real closely. Bottom line for me is you got too many excuses. Oh, I was playing with the baby. Oh, I barely shook him. Everything he got, his teeth, he got something wrong with the top of his mouth. I just tossed him in the crib. I'll be honest with you, I don't think you're being honest. My vote is to deny. That'll conclude our hearing today. You can reapply in the future. We'll send you the paperwork. Okay, parole board is back in order. Today, board consists of me, Pete Freeman, as the chairman, Steve Prater is to my left, and Mr. Tillis is to my right. Today, we're here for the parole hearing on Connie Sledge. Mr. Sledge, you were originally convicted for second-degree murder. You had a commutation of sentence which reduced your sentence from life to 99 years in prison. You have a parole eligibility date of 11/16/2023. Good time date of 8/29/44. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would like to introduce the people we have with us today. People in opposition are Jerika Sanders. She will be speaking. She is on Zoom. Her sister Tyra Tatum is also with her, but she will not be speaking. Mr. Myers from the Parole Project will be speaking. Calvin Hall, subject's brother, will be speaking. Brian Head, subject's friend and pastor, will be speaking. Leslie Dupree is just here in support. Adrian Hutchison is his attorney, and she will also be speaking. Ron Hicks, a friend, he's just here in support, and Ronald Oliver, a friend, is here in support. Is anybody else here that I did not mention? Okay, and Ms. Hutchinson, your speakers today are going to be Kerry Myers, Calvin Hall, and Brian Head.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, and then you will close it out on their end.
I sure will. And if I can, just a quick note, Mr. Sledge had a stroke on last month on June 17th. So if at any point the board is having trouble understanding him, just let me know and I can repeat it for you. He's doing well, but I'm just not sure with the technology how much of it may not come through. So just let me know and I'll assist.
Okay. All right, Mr. Sledge, would you say your name and DOC number for the record, please, sir?
Connie Sledge, 271051.
Okay, that's what I have. Okay, Mr. Sledge, we're gonna start by we're gonna allow you to tell us what happened and why. And also tell us why should we vote to let you out today?
Okay, on the night of February 28th, Jerry and I got off work and we were riding around drinking, just hanging out. We got into a confrontation in the truck. I stabbed Jerry several times. I got fearful of what I had done, and I drove the truck to the spillway, and I placed his body by the spillway. And I went to continue drinking, and eventually parked the truck close to my grandparents' home on Logan Road. And that's pretty much what happened that night. I got arrested 2 days later for the charge. And I have taken full ownership and responsibility for what I have done. And I have been remorseful and continue to be. And I have allowed my remorse and regret to lead me to a place of finding out why I did what I did. And I found out it was anger and an addiction to drugs. So I've been on a journey working on my anger, working on my addiction. And as a result of doing that, I was afforded the opportunity to help other men work on their issues.
And along the way, I've had a lot of programming and opportunity for personal development. And one of the classes that actually helped me a whole lot was victim awareness, showing that my crime affected my family, which Jared is my second cousin. And it affected a whole lot of people. And I continue to be remorseful for what I've done and continue to work on myself, getting better as a person, and been afforded the opportunity to go to several prisons as a missionary and also as a mentor, and continue to help others deal with their issues. And I believe that I'm given the opportunity that I can go out in society and continue to work, mission wherever work, as well as helping those struggling with anger and substance abuse. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Warden, what do you have to say about Mr. Sledge?
He's been doing well. Like you said, he's completed a lot of programming, going years back. Serves as a mentor to other offenders. He hasn't had a write-up in 20 years, and he's only had 9 write-ups. And none of those were violent write-ups. Definitely a model offender here.
Warden, thank you very much. Okay, now we're gonna go to your supporters. Mr. Kerry Meyer from the Parole Project.
Thank you. Good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We've been working with Mr. Sledge since his clemency hearing. But in fact, I've known Connie Sledge for more than 20 years. And in the time that I've known him, I've never seen him anything but a humble man, someone who's always been in the right programs, doing the right things. You know, you can always watch someone. There's no secrets in prison. And you can watch someone and you know if they're sincere or they're not. And I can tell you, just from my observations, I truly believe in the years that I've known Mr. Sledge that he's sincere. And one of the things we're looking at is his fitness to return to society, and if he presents any threat to public safety. And I just don't believe that he presents any threat to public safety. Certainly, his offense affected a lot of people. And in my observations, the things that he has done has demonstrated the fact that he understands that he pleaded guilty to this offense. When he sobered up, he recognized what he had done, and he spent a lot of time during his incarceration working on those issues. Should this board grant him parole today, he will come to Parole Project. He will also apply. His long-term goal is to go to Texas to live with his brother. But while he's here, he will apply for an ICOTS. But while he is here, he will have the programming and the mentorship to help him in his adjustment. We understand also that he had the recent stroke, and we'll make sure that he's connected to any medical needs that he has, any medical resources. We'll make sure he continues his rehabilitation from that. So I just ask this board to consider Mr. Sledge in the totality of the things that he has, not only his offense, but his sincere sorrow for what he's done, and the work that he's done on himself, and the fact that he presents no threat to society. And he served over 30 years on this offense. So we would just ask this board to send him to us and let us help him make this transition before he goes on his way to Texas.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Myers. Calvin Hall, Mr. Sledge's brother.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, it is with great joy and pain, remorse and regrets to the family, the board, and all that has been affected. But I come to support my little brother. I call him LaRon. I've seen his journey over the 30 years. I do believe there is remorse and regret. He has put work in to reform his mind, his mindset, and also to help others who would be found in that situation. So I thank God for the parole board that's going to help him on his first leg and journey out. And I am here to see that he finish well as he make this transition back into society and give back to society if the board grant him that privilege. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Brian Head, friend and pastor. Go ahead, Mr. Head. Yes, sir. Can you hear us? You still on mute?
There we go.
All
Can you
right.
hear me now? All right.
Yes, sir. Tell us what you want us to know about Mr. Sledge.
Yes, sir. Good morning. My name is Pastor Brian Head, and I have pastored our church for nearing 30 years. And I also currently work as a mental health specialist, working with young boys and young men in need of counseling and support. And I have been in very close contact with Brother Connie Sledge for nearing 10 years now. And Connie has consistently been in contact with me and the church, Bayou Vista Community Fellowship, keeping us abreast of his ministry efforts, his accomplishments, his undertakings, self-improvement classes that he has attended, programs he has taught in and mentored other young men in, and so on. He has been on a continual course of self-improvement and a course to help others. Now, while Connie admits to making a very impulsive and rash decision over 30 plus years ago as a very immature, troubled young man, Connie is nearing the 30 plus year mark of paying the consequences for that reckless moment. Connie could have continued in a destructive path. However, upon entering prison, Connie began rehabilitating and taking steps towards a changed and productive life. Connie's records indicate that through the years, other than a few minor infractions in his very early years of incarceration, Connie has been a model prisoner. Connie has pursued knowledge and education, obtaining multiple degrees, including a ministry certification, and has been using this knowledge to assist other young men in the rehabilitation process. Connie has been a great encourager to our own local church here. Connie has completed multiple self-awareness, self-improvement courses such as anger management, victim impact, etc., and has actively mentored others in programs such as the RDAP, the Residence Drug Abuse Program. Though impulsive as a young man, Connie has grown to realize that thoughts generate feelings, and feelings generate actions, and actions bring forth consequences. Therefore, Connie is very conscious of controlling his thoughts and feelings, ensuring they generate positive and healthy actions and consequences. I could go on and on concerning the stats of his rehabilitation process, but you have all that in front of you. Any man can make a mistake. That's what I'd like to say. In fact, we all have. We're all an ex something. But a wise man admits his mistake. He learns from his mistake. He learns from the mistakes of others. He chooses not to repeat those mistakes, and he seeks education and knowledge to avoid mistakes of that nature in the future. This wise man would be Connie Sledge. Connie, along with his support system, has put together a plan, and should he be paroled, has a plan of action to secure his progress upon entering society, including an occupation, a place to reside, a safety plan for support, and opportunities to minister and to mentor others. In fact, Bayou Vista Community Fellowship has such confidence in his rehabilitation We have an account with funding to assist Connie with his re-entry into society. So I ask you today to strongly consider not the past young, immature, impulsive Connie Sledge, but the rehabilitated, new, mature, able Connie Sledge, who is a testimony of today's prisoner rehabilitation program. He is prepared to make a difference in our world, and the young men of today need his experience and wisdom and knowledge. So I humbly ask you, give him an opportunity and consider him for parole. And I thank you for your time today.
We thank you, sir. Okay, Ms. Hutchinson, you want to close it out on his behalf?
Sure. In June of 2022, this honorable board unanimously voted to commute Connie's life sentence. This was done after an interview with Connie and remarks by both supporters and opposition. In the hearing, Judge Jackson's final remarks she reminded all those present that it was not the board's duty to retry the case or simply judge Connie on what happened at that time some 27 years ago, but to assess him on who he was today. And she acknowledged his outstanding accomplishments, his missionary service, the remarks by the warden, and the remaining board added that he had excellent programming and an extensive community service record. So today, I'd just like to briefly highlight those things again and show you what the board saw in 2022, as well as update you on what he's been doing since then. As you know, Connie's a graduate of the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. He has both an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree in Christian ministry. He graduated with a 3.14 GPA. Connie's learned a lot about himself and how he had avoided his issues at the time of the crime, and how he had just been reluctant to address both grief and anger. He knows now how to think critically and work through those difficulties. I think one of the biggest testaments to Connie is the fact that he's a facilitator, a mentor, and a teacher. I counted some 18 programs. I'm sure I missed it, but these are all things that he has either taught, mentored, or tutored in within the prison. Those that are especially important are ones like the residential drug abuse program, ones that directly impacted his crime that he's now able to help other people do. They teach cognitive behavioral strategies to address substance abuse. So this is something he lives through and works through daily. He's taken all the victim impact classes, both in 2010 and 2023. And as he's shown and said, he's deeply remorseful and regrets taking a good man, a good friend. He's also participated in the Frederick Douglass Project at Hunt Correctional Facility that hosts people monthly in the prison discussing programming, rehabilitation, and change. But the biggest part of Connie's time in prison has been his missionary work. So when he first graduated from the ministry, his first post-graduation assignment was particularly challenging. If any of you are familiar with Camp J at Angola, it's a disciplinary camp. The individuals housed there are locked down for 23 hours a day. They suffer from great mental health illnesses there, but Connie calls it the place where God was needed at the most. While he was there, he made rounds on the cell blocks, ministered, and encouraged people. And before he knew about the makeshift baptism pool, he was given baptisms in the shower. He serviced there for 3 years, doing Bible study and services. And on good days, he was able to distribute communion. And on the more challenging days, he delivered death notices. He went on from there to go to Wynn Correctional Facility. At the time, they wanted to implement a faith-based dorm and a Celebrate Recovery dorm. He was interviewed and placed there with a team of ministers that were able to set up dorms to help rehabilitate men through faith-based programming. Once the prison saw the sincerity of the ministers, they allowed Connie to grow the programs. I can only imagine what he would be able to implement in the free world, given the opportunity and the success he's had at all these institutions. At Elaine Hunt, he's, in addition to his pastoral services, He leads classes and administers in the mental health dorm, cell blocks, and hospice. He's been able to stand with men from the onset of their journey in faith with baptism to the end of life in hospice. When he confessed to the crime some almost 30 years ago, it was the end of a reckless era of decision-making, violence, and substance abuse. That's present in Connie's current record, which the warden states he's only had 9 write-ups in almost 30 years, and his last one was for being late to seminary class. He has a low Tiger score and a low risk of recidivism, and at 53 years old, he's well past the age of continued criminal activity is statistically likely. He presents no threat to re-enter society and could easily continue his sentence within the community on parole. As Carrie has stated, he would come to the Louisiana Parole Project and receive all our services before transitioning to live with his brother in Houston, Texas, where he'd be able to be a groundskeeper at the church where his brother is the pastor and continue his missionary and ministry work. And everyone, including LPP and his brother, are committed to help Connie with his ongoing health issues from the stroke. So today we ask you to give the Connie you see today, the minister, the mentor, and the missionary a second chance with any stipulations this board deems necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all right, I think we have Miss Jerika Sanders in opposition. Miss Sanders. Good morning, Miss Sanders. Please give us your statement.
Good morning. My name is Jerika Sanders. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
I am the daughter of Jerry Tatum, the victim. And just hearing everything that Mr. Connie said, to this day, after all these years, I still think he's not telling the full truth of what happened that night. And I say that because my dad wasn't a drinker, and he definitely wasn't confrontational unless provoked. I also say that with his sentence being reduced from life to 99 years, that was more than fair. I don't think he should be paroled. Also, Connie Sledge shouldn't be released because of the brutal and inhumane acts against my father, which cost him his life and ruined mine and my family's. I know my life would be a lot better hadn't he killed my father, but I have learned to live without him, and it hasn't been an easy journey. And some days are harder than others. So many milestones in my life have come and gone when I needed my father desperately, but he took that away from me. He robbed me from a normal childhood, a chance to have that father and daughter bond that I've longed for. He created a wound in my heart that would never heal. Everyone always talks about forgiveness, but everyone haven't been in my shoes. Forgiveness is a goal that I have yet to reach. And nobody can tell me how to feel and what I should do, especially when everybody's just on the outside looking in. I feel like he should rot in prison for all the pain and trauma he has caused my family. He doesn't deserve to be released. He took my father's life over $47, and my father's life was worth way more. He claimed that my father stole it from him, but my father had a full-time job and had a pretty paid job. And how dare he try and tarnish my father's name when he was only good to him, when he didn't even deserve that. And now he has the audacity to sit here and petition for parole. He knew what he was doing, but he thought he was going to get away with it. The murder he committed towards my father was premeditated and overkill. He meant everything he did. Now he thinks since he has served some time and convinced people that he has changed, he should be allowed to be free. He murdered my father, who is his cousin, in cold blood, and he wasn't remorseful one bit. While my family searched endlessly for my father's remains, he paraded around the community like he did nothing wrong. He deserved to stay locked up like the animal he is. My father couldn't live his life like how he wanted to, so why should he? And that's only fair. I truly hope y'all deny his parole just like he denied me my father. And every time he tried to petition for parole, I will be here. I'm just here to make sure my father keeps getting justice that he deserves. And I did hear when Mr. Connie said that he's doing all that in prison with the missionary work. I feel like he should continue to do that while in prison. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. Okay, case was assigned to Mr. Tillis. Mr. Tillis? Huh?
Another speaker.
Who?
Tyra Tatum.
They don't have a mark.
It
Okay.
says yes, but it's not how.
Okay, not how. Okay. Ms. Tyra Tatum? I'm sorry, I overlooked, you wish to speak, Ms. Tatum? Ms. Tatum?
Just a second. Hit that ask to unmute button so you know about it.
Hello.
Good, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We can hear you now.
Hello, boy. Hello, people. I'm the victim's sister, Tyra. Bell Tatum was my brother. And Connie Sledge is my cousin. And this crime was calculated murder that he plotted. And this is from the start, because my brother treated him like a brother. And Jerry murder turned into him destroying his body. Jerry was stabbed 47 times plus. And for a person to have to go through that was a hate crime, murder. Connie had the nerve to drive my brother's soaked bloody truck. And not only that, he rapped my brother, he taped my brother, he wired my brother, he sent a block, and he drove my brother to the next parish over, and he dumped him in Shenny Lake. Then he dumped my brother like he was a piece of trash, like Jerry didn't mean nothing to him. Then he left us looking for my brother. And after all of this, I don't agree with him being free. Because it took some time, because we was looking for Jerry and he was missing. And Connie came around us acting like nothing happened. As a matter of fact, he was in our home. We asked him. He had like, he didn't know nothing. He played us in our face. He played that dumb role to us. And for that, I will never forgive Connie for what he done to Jerry. Because Jerry do matter. Thank you, boy, for taking time off and listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Tatum. I'm sorry we had overlooked you. Okay, now, the case is assigned to Mr. Tillis. So, Mr. Tillis, would you ask any questions you have?
Good morning, Mr. Slater. How are you?
One.
I think in your opening statement, you answered a lot of questions I wanted, and then the young lady just answered another question. I didn't know. I read her letter, and you're related to the victim?
Yes, sir, my second cousin.
Okay. You say you said you were drinking, but were you doing drugs also?
Jerry didn't do drugs. I was.
Jerry was drinking also?
He was drinking, but not doing drugs.
I see. If granted parole, the Texas resident plan you have, would it be immediate or what?
Well, I'm gonna go to parole projects first and then to Texas.
Would it be your immediate family?
Yes, sir, my brother.
The brother that spoke?
Yes, sir.
I see. You worked in Camp J?
Yes, sir.
How long did you work there?
For 3 years.
I know a lot about Camp J. I've been there. I commend you for the work you've done there. I have no more questions.
Okay, Mr. Prater, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay. What have you done in prison about your drug usage, Mr. Sledge?
I took several substance abuse classes. Currently, I facilitate and teach RDAP, which is a residential drug abuse program. And in facilitating and teaching others, actually helped me to keep my sobriety, helped me to stay focused and accountable. I took living in balance, also took celebrate recovery, and also facilitated those classes also. And so I currently still work on my sobriety every day.
Okay, and what are you gonna do about your sobriety if you were to be released?
I'm gonna continue to give me a sponsor, accountability partner, and I'm gonna continue to go and try to help others overcome their addictions.
I have no further questions, so.
I'd like to make a motion for an executive session, please.
Okay, we have a motion for an executive session. We have a second, Mr. Prater?
Yes, go second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Steve Prater,
Yes.
Pete, Mr. Pete,
Yes.
Chuck Taylor.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna be, going into executive session for a few minutes to discuss confidential matters. We'll be back in session in a few minutes. Okay, we concluded our executive session. We'll be back in session at 10:35. Would you call the roll, please?
Pete Freeman,
Yes.
Chuck Tillers,
Yes.
Steve Prayer.
Yes.
Okay, we're back and I think we're ready to vote. Mr. Tillers, you'll vote first.
Mr. Slate,
Yes.
you've done some things that I disagree with. And I've seen the remorse in you. I think you've done some good work since you've been there. My vote today is going to be to grant you parole with the conditions that you go to the LPP, and from there to residence in Texas with your immediate family. And I hope you continue to do well.
Thank you.
Mr. Prater?
Yes, sir. My vote is to deny parole because of the brutality of the crime, the victim opposition. I think the original intent of the sentence is the sentencing judge and that's not to diminish the good work that you've done. And I think your mission field is right there where you are for now. And I don't want to diminish that, but I just don't think the consequences, and after listening to the victims and the brutality of the crime, hiding the body and that sort of thing, I just can't get around that. My vote is to deny it at this time.
Okay, and then it's that's the thing. We voted for the clemency, and I was on that panel. I will say I did vote for you clemency, but we set a minimum of 30. And you know, there's no way to put a time on what these victims lost. But in my opinion, 31 years is just not quite enough. You've done everything you're supposed to do. And I will say, I think you're gonna make it probably soon. Because I mean, you have done everything right in prison, but I still think you owe a little time to the victims. So my vote is to deny. Okay, that'll close out this hearing at 10:37. Okay, we'll call the parole board back to order. We're now going to a Boyles Correctional. Warden, would you state, your staff, that's there with you?
Sir, Mr. Freeman, good morning, everyone. Warden Marcus Myers.
Deputy Warden Stephen Bourlon.
Raven Heath, classification.
Go the board on record.
Okay, thank y'all. I'm on the board today. I'll be your acting chairman. Mr. Prater is to my left, Mr. Tillis is to my right. We will be the panel this morning. Would the people here at headquarters please introduce yourself?
Bryce Sapp.
Okay. All right, okay, Mr. Polk, you were convicted of manslaughter. You got a 40-year sentence. Your parole eligibility date is 3/24/2024. Your discharge date, which is your good time date, is 8/21/34, and your full term date is 4/25/41. Do you agree with all of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you state your name and DOC number?
Reginald Polk, 397704.
Okay, I'm gonna call out the people that will be speaking today and the people that are here just to show support or opposition. And if I miss anyone, please advise me, or if we have something swapped on here, let me know if y'all have any concern. Okay, speaking in opposition will be Nadia Como, victim's twin sister. Chastity Como is not speaking, but is here in opposition. Carolyn Boudreaux is here and will be speaking. And
Nikhil is here, she's not.
she's not gonna be speaking? No, okay. So what about Nadia? Nadia is speaking. Okay, good. So we have two speakers. Okay, and then on the support side, we have Kerry Myers from the Parole Project, Robert Lancaster from the Louisiana Parole Project, Sam Williams, a law student, he will be speaking. Robert will be speaking. Mr. Myers will be speaking. Charmaine Polk, subject sister, will be speaking. And Cicely Braley, Penny Braley, and Genevieve Coleman are also here, but in support and will not be speaking. Did I get all of that correct? Any corrections? Okay. All right, well, let's move on with the hearing. Okay, Mr. Polk, first off, I want you to tell us, what did you do? I mean, what crime you committed? What was your involvement? And then tell us why should we consider letting you out today?
All right. I took the life of another person. My involvement was wrongdoing. I walked up on this person and asked him if he wanted to end the situation. He chose not to end the situation. So I took it upon myself and I shot this person. This was my involvement in the crime. Why I should be granted? Well, first of all, let me say this here. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to being able to speak. I want to say to my victims that my actions was uncalled for. It was selfish of me and totally unjustified. I was wrong at what I did. I'm extremely sorry. And I just wish this all could have been prevented. Now, why I should be granted parole? Because years before, I would have been in denial. I was in denial. I had little remorse. I was blaming others of my actions. I was pointing the finger. But I seen a growth process. I seen it in me to where I own responsibility for the things that I've done. I came a long way. As a child, I thought as a child, but I started moving in the right direction. I'm different from the age of when I was 19 or 20. I'm 45 now. The decisions that I would make in life will be fit for society. Right, I was unfit when I first came. There's no way that I belong on the streets. And I understand that. I understand what I did was wrong, was totally wrong. For me being a man now and mature to the place that I'm in life, and now I understand just what I've done. I really don't deserve anything. But the person I am today would have never made that decision. I understand. The person who I knew this other guy. And if I could say to this other guy today, you know, we wasn't supposed to never let that happen to each other. Well, both families end up losing somebody. Well, other families in the community have to choose sides to wonder, you know, to console each other's family. I wrecked the community. Even my family here, you know, today to support me. I had them living in shame because they didn't do anything. It was all my fault at doing things. But why I should be granted parole is because I recognize the change in myself today from where I used to be to where I'm at now. And I'm ready.
Okay, thanks for that statement. Warden, what do you have to say about Mr. Polk?
Well, Mr. Freeman, you know, as you can tell, I'm sure you guys have obviously looked at his conduct history, and, you know, he came in as a young man, went to Angola, you know, like many other young men, had a lot of problems, adjusting, many fights, aggravated fights over the years. But he's been with us for quite a while now. He has not had a disciplinary infraction in 6 years, which I'm very pleased with. He's taken numerous classes. We had a long conversation yesterday about what he did, and he understands the hurt he's brought on people, mistakes he's made. He's taken things to help himself. He's taken everything that we've asked of him to take. He's a member of my Thrive program, which is my honor program. Proud of him for that. He obtained his GED since he's been with us. He's made some good strides towards the positive. Board sees fit to grant him today, then so be it. If not, I have more programs that I can put him through to help him out even more. Served quite a bit of his time over his sentence, but he understands what he did was very serious, and taking a life is something that can't be changed. But he is making strides forward. Proud of him for that.
Okay. Thank you, Warden. Okay, Mr. Kerry Meyer, Louisiana Parole Project.
Yes, good morning. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. And we're here to support Mr. Polk should this board grant his release today through his transition. He served nearly 25 years of his sentence, which is more than half of his sentence. As the warden said, he hasn't had a disciplinary infraction in 6 years. The programs he's taken are all programs that have addressed his issues, and some that he has just taken for self-improvement. We're here to support him through his reentry. He will get the support that he needs with a case manager who will work with him daily. He'll get support from our volunteers. He'll go through the programming that he needs and things like financial management, self-awareness, consumer skills. He'll have an evaluation through our social worker for any needs that might be identified and follow. We will ensure that he follows any recommendations there. We're going to support Mr. Polk through his transition. Once he leaves us, he has a strong long-term resident support system, and he will be continually followed up by our case management when he does leave us. We just believe Mr. Polk, and as you listen to him speak, is going to be successful. So we just ask this board to grant his parole today.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lancaster, would you like your law student to speak now to give us a little history?
Yes, Mr. Freeman. So Robert Lancaster with LSU Parole and Reentry Clinic. I'm here today representing Mr. Polk. With me is Sam Williams. He is a third-year law student. He's worked with Mr. Polk since January in the spring clinic and is prepared today to give a statement. As Mr. Polk's attorney, I'll reserve my statement for the conclusion of your interview before you vote. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Williams.
Good morning, committee. Like Mr. Lancaster said, my name is Sam Williams. I'm a third-year law student at LSU in connection with the parole clinic being supervised by Professor Lancaster. I've been working with Mr. Polk since January. Again, I want to note that I'm not certified under Louisiana Supreme Court Rule 20, but I want to thank you for the permission and the opportunity to speak on Mr. Polk's behalf today. Reginald, or Reggie as he's affectionately known by his friends and family, entered the correctional system as an angry teenager. He just made the biggest mistake of his life. Reginald told you he grew up and he was an immature kid. He had anger, but he matured in prison. And Reginald's proof that the correctional system and the programs we have in place can serve a variety of functions. They can serve the means of justice, but they can also rehabilitate the people placed in this system if they put earnest work in. Early on in his incarceration, like the warden mentioned, Reginald showed a lack of discipline. He failed to take accountability for his actions, responsibility for his life. But after initial adjustment period and coming to terms with the depth of the harm his crime caused and really contemplating the victims he impacted, since then, Reginald's been an active participant in his rehabilitation. I'd just like to give you some of the numbers. Reginald's gone over 6 years without a disciplinary infraction, without a write-up. Nearly 75% of the write-ups occurred within the first 10 years of his incarceration. He's been a model inmate since. Reginald's completed over 25 programs, ranging from victim impact to Cage Your Rage, living in balance, thinking for a change. Not only have these classes educated him, but they've given him real practical tools and skills to give him tools in his decision-making where he granted release. While incarcerated, he also received his GED. This was a huge goal for him, and it was especially important to his parents as well. It was important that Reginald honored the memory of his late father, who really, really wanted him to complete his education, and Reginald's super, super proud of this achievement. Further, he's been entrusted by all the facilities he's been in. He's been a cook for nearly 20 years, since 2006. Considering the jobs in prison, a cook isn't always the most glamorous. It's not necessarily the most sought after. It takes a lot of responsibility, a lot of hard work, a lot of discipline, and often it's early hours before everybody's even woken up. But Reginald's found a passion for this, and he's found that he likes cooking, he likes serving people, and it's also become a part of his reentry plan. Further, Reginald also has a low Tiger score. He's not at a high risk of recidivism, which will only continue to lower as he ages. If you couple this with the support he's getting from the Parole Project, that also notably boasts a low recidivism rate, I believe Reginald's well positioned if he's granted release. So not only has Reginald done the work in prison to prepare himself for this opportunity and this possibility at life on the outside, he's fortunate enough to be in a position where he's set up to succeed. The Louisiana Parole Project has again committed considerable resources. They're going to give him continued programming. They're going to give him long-term housing to ensure that he remains on the right path. He's also secured work upon his release, working for LaBerge Hotel and Casino in Baton Rouge as a cook. The release plan in totality really mimics the structure and routine that's, gotten him successfully to this point. And with this plan, he should find it easy to continue his rehabilitation, but equally important, provide him a pathway to independence, emotional independence, financial independence. And he's excited for the opportunity to become self-sufficient if given the opportunity. Reginald entered this system again as a young, troubled kid who frankly came from a tough environment. He made a rash decision and a reckless decision in a moment, which was a horrible mistake. But the record I speak about and the picture that's painted of Reginald isn't the picture of a young, troubled kid. It's truly a picture of a man who's worked diligently to turn his life around, and he's actively participated in this rehabilitation. You heard today from Reginald, you heard from his supporters that he's a changed man, and it's true, he truly is. But apart from what anybody can say, I believe if you look closely,
you need to try to wrap it up for us.
sure. If you see the progression of his disciplinary record, his commitment to programming, he's not the same teenager that he was 25 years ago. And I believe if you consider that along with the reentry plan, you'll find a man ready to reenter society, and he can be a model inmate. Again, that's my time. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Okay, Miss Charmaine Polk, sister.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Charmaine.
Come on.
Hello, my name is Charmaine Polk. I'm the sister of Reginald Polk. I just want to say that my heart does go out to the family of the victim, that my brother has been taking accountability of his actions. He's been doing that for the past 25 years. I can say that he's not the same young boy that he came in prison with as he is now. He has matured, he's grown, and from the visits that I've had with him, I can tell that he does want to live a fruitful and a productive life. And I ask you that you give him a second chance. He is my only sibling, my only immediate family, as both of our parents have both passed away. And they wanted to live long enough to see him live a productive life, to walk out and be, it's like, after my daddy passed away, we have become very, very close. Because I don't have any other siblings. He's all I have, and I'm all he has. He does have family out here that can help him, and we're willing to do whatever it takes. If it means pray with him, go to church with him, visit him, talk on the phone with him, just spend time with him. I'm there. Financially, if he needs that, I'm there. I just know that my brother is not the same person that he was back then, and I am sorry what happened to the Como family. I'm sorry that it did destroy two families. And I just need my brother home.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Mr. Lancaster, would you like to close it out on the sports side?
If I could, Mr. Freeman, I would reserve my closing after the interview in case there are any outstanding questions or anything that I could assist in wrapping up.
Okay. We just changed the format, and we're doing it in this format because we think we can get more information and have more to go on. That's why we're doing it this way now.
Certainly. And I'll add a few things that have already been said. And then if anything comes up during the interview, I can
tell me you want to
chime in.
clarify something.
A few things that I just want to mention that haven't been said so far is the basis upon which Mr. Polk's coming up on parole, how he got before you today, and that's under Act 122. And the point of Act 122 is this recognition that once someone has served 20 years in prison and has reached the age of 45, there is really an insignificant chance that they're going to recidivate. The data demonstrates that 20 years of incarceration typically is enough. And Mr. Polk has demonstrated that 20 years is enough. He's achieved what's necessary to not only rehabilitate himself, but also prepare him for release. He's also reached the age of 45, and data demonstrates that once individuals reach the age of 45, this term of criminal menopause, that they're less likely to commit crimes in the future. And that's why the legislature created this avenue of parole eligibility. And preceding Act 122 for quite some time, there's been Act 790, which was based on this same premise, that 20 years incarceration and 45 years of age demonstrates that there's really not much chance of reoffending. And when that's demonstrated, as it's been demonstrated in the hearing today, someone can serve the rest of their sentence in the community. The other thing that the parole eligibility statute does is recognize that when judges sentence people to a term of years, they're doing it without all of the information available. They're basing it upon what they've learned at trial about the crime and the pre-sentence, investigation. But what's lacking in that information is someone's capacity to change. And what's lacking is at the time of sentencing is someone to really demonstrate their capacity for change. And that's the real importance of discretionary parole, because it also serves for institutional compliance. Because if prisoners understand that when they go to prison and they do what they're told and they follow the rules and they work as they're told to work and they do the things they're told to do, there is an opportunity for release. And that serves institutional compliance across the board. It makes prisons safer, it makes correctional officers safer, and it actually saves the cost of incarceration by creating more efficiencies in prison. So Mr. Polk, has really demonstrated that he has changed. He's demonstrated that he's ready. He's also at a really good spot, given his age and his work skills. Because we know that if people are paroled and they have support, which he does through the Parole Project, we know that if people are paroled and they have housing, which he'll have through the Parole Project, we know that if people are paroled and they have employment, which he'll have at LaBerge Casino that's been arranged through the Parole Project, that they're successful. So he is very well packaged for success at this moment. And that's why we would ask that he be paroled today, given his preparedness and the structure that he's built around his reentry plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to go to the opposition side. And first speaker on the opposition side will be Miss Nadia Como. Miss Como. Is she on?
Do you mind if I speak?
Oh no, we're getting to you next, ma'am. Believe me.
Correctional officer safe it actually saves administrations by creating more efficiencies in
Okay, can you hear us?
has changed.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, what do you have on in the background?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay, Ms. Como. What do you want us to know about Mr. Polk? What do you want to say?
I just want to say that Nigel Como is my twin brother, was my twin brother. I feel like Reginald killed my brother and my brother is dead forever. Y'all gave him 40 years. I think it's only fair that what you gave him, he should serve, and my brother has to serve what he gave my brother. And that's only fair. I mean, I respect the rehabilitation that y'all are affording for all criminals. I understand that. I know he's been there 25 years already, but my brother has a lifetime. Since the day my brother passed away, I've raised all money to help bury young men in my community and raised all this money myself, over 16 deaths. I keep my brother's name alive. I named my restaurant after my brother. We called it Nino. And that's how I got the name of the restaurant. I'm at peace. I just pray for strength for my mother today. That was my mother's child, my twin brother. I just pray for strength for my mother on today. But as for me, I am at peace. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, we appreciate it, Ms. Como. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Carolyn Boudreaux,
Yes.
would you like to speak, ma'am? Okay, could you go to the podium, please?
Well, I'd like for y'all to just look over this. I'll tell you what it's about.
Okay.
Once you look over it. Thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak. Today's not a good day for me or my family, and I know it's not a good day for his family. What hurt me the most, graduated my son were friends. They were the two first black boys that were played on all white baseball team. I don't know what happened. People say things, but only they know the truth. I don't know. I always try to teach my kids to walk away from trouble. He walked away. My child was in jail for months, and I wanted him to stay there. So I noticed he was getting out of hand. But my kids wanted him home for Thanksgiving. We got him out of jail for Thanksgiving. The same night he got out of jail, he shot at him. I went to his mother's home because we were friends. Every time her and her husband would get Christmas ball, my husband and I was sitting at day tables. And I went to his house that night. One of my friends came, got me saying, shoot at your child. I don't know if you shot him. He's running. He's limping. I went to talk to his mother and father. He was sitting on the porch. It was kind of chilly. You can see the gun and it's cold. I was so afraid. But his mother said, come in the house. He was even rude to his mother and father, telling them to sit down and shut up. And like I said, I always tried to teach. I was born and raised in the country. All I knew was love until I moved to town. And I tried to teach my children, walk away from trouble. There's a lot of things we can't walk away from. And I understand that. But my child walked away and you still put him in a chokehold and shot him in the back. And another thing, every time he went to court, he would sit there and laugh at me. He would taunt me. He would laugh at me. He showed no remorse. A month before that, he saw the police car. Talk about a high-speed chase. You got your life. My child is gone. You took something from me, and my life hasn't been the same ever since. Never been the same. I'm surprised I'm still alive. And the papers I gave you to look at, that's what helped me get my sanity back. My daughter and I started helping the young children that get killed. She would do the GoFundMes. I would do the candlelight rituals. I put all their pictures on my building, and I called it Christmas in heaven. I would get off from work at night, the young children sat in the street crying. But then tomorrow they still out there shooting. Yes, I understand it didn't change his life. But you here to speak. You here for your sister to grab you, hug you, and hold you, or just to talk to you. I can't do that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm fucking 9 months for the children, and any mother that don't say what happened to their kids, or don't do the right things by their kids, what kind of mother are you? Or what kind of father are you? I know McMahons don't feel exactly the way we feel, and that there are others that really have a heart. And there are men that out there that would give it up and cry because of the pain. I stayed in bed for 7 years before I went to see a psychiatrist. And a young child that was working at a clinic, she lost her brother. And another child lost their life in one night. And then one of them they thought was my child. I stayed up with them people for 2 days. I couldn't sleep. And she told me, Miss Carol, I need you to come to the clinic and see a psychiatrist. Every week I was still rushing into the hospital. I don't know, my body just would give up. The night my son got killed, my baby girl in the apartment begged me to go to that, and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. And on the way back home, it was on a 911 call. And when I got out there, my body just fell. I was on the ground crawling like a dog.
Yes, ma'am.
I wasn't even trying because I could. My body just gave out.
Yes, ma'am. Can you kind of wrap it up, ma'am, please?
I'm just done. And like I said, I have nothing against these people at all. But what he done to the child is not right. And the judge promised me he had to do 85% of the time. And that's all I want. That's all I want.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for coming. I know it's very hard. Okay, all right, and we have Miss Boudreaux. Oh, okay, and then she's not speaking. Okay, now it's my turn. I've been assigned your case. I'm gonna be the one that's gonna be questioning you today. So Mr. Polk, how old are you?
45.
How long have you served on this charge?
24 years and 7 months.
Okay. What was the shooting about? Why did you, I mean, it says you just walked up, according to a witness, walked up and shot him in the back. What was the dispute about?
Well, he had robbed me and shot my girlfriend, and I was in a rage at about that. So I felt as if, I guess whenever we see each other, that's what it was gonna be. And that's what happened.
But you said at first he didn't want no competition. I'm a question. At first he was trying to walk away, right? He didn't want to fight you.
He didn't want to talk to me when I asked him to let's leave it alone. And he said he didn't want to talk. So when he said he didn't want to talk, I shot him.
And what that was over, some money you had in your wallet, $1,200, I think. How much was it?
Well, he had robbed me. He had robbed me. He had robbed me. Not only robbed me, but he came back and he pointed the gun. I just never said anything, and he shot my girlfriend, shooting at me. So whenever he shot my girlfriend shooting at me, I just lost my sanity. I just couldn't take it. I couldn't live with myself with that happening.
Okay.
I just didn't take it upon my own self and just say, well, I'm going to run somebody down in the middle of the streets and do them any harm as this week. I mean.
All right, I understand now. Okay. You were originally charged with second-degree murder, and it was pled down to manslaughter. You've had one supervision that was revoked. What happened during that supervision? Do you remember?
Well, I never I didn't have what that was, a parole officer or something.
Right.
And that was it. I just didn't have any. I never attended the meetings when
Never showed you got out. Okay. You know, with the community attitude, the DA is opposed, Assistant DA Ted Ayo. Mike Hardy, the city, PD is opposed. Of course, we heard unopposed is his sister and his family. Ms. Boudreaux, as we've heard from her, she is very opposed. And, also his twin sister is opposed. Okay,
Can I say one more thing, please?
real quick,
It will be.
okay.
He said that my son stole from him $1,200.
Right,
His mother came to my house, they were 16 years old,
correct.
told me that Reginald said my son took $100 from him. I asked her, where did he get $100 from at 16 years old? I don't have $100 to give you. That's the only robbery I ever heard of.
Okay.
And if my son did rob him or shoot his girlfriend, why take the law into your own hands?
I got you, okay. All right, let's see, okay, and 16, you were moved for disciplinary reasons. Why were you moved?
I was caught with a cell phone.
Okay. All right. You've had 31 write-ups, but like I said, you hadn't had none since 2016, which was the cell phone, and you had a fighting, an aggravated fighting. What was the aggravated fighting? Was there a weapon involved?
No, sir. No, sir.
It was a fight, okay? Okay, the institutional record says poor. Okay, and that's all the questions I have. Were you using that night when this occurred? You said you were on cocaine?
No, sir. I wasn't using.
Just drinking?
I have drunk and I have used marijuana before, but that night I wasn't on anything.
Okay. Okay. I have no further questions. Do any of my
Yeah, how old were you when this happened?
19.
You were 19,
They were 21.
and the victim was how old? If you know,
21.
21.
Ma'am,
They the same age.
ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Gotta let him-
I'm sorry.
Okay, and he took how much money from you?
It was a couple $100. That was previous. That was
$1,200.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. I heard you say $12. So it wasn't 12, but
No, sir. No, sir.
a couple of $100. And he shot your girlfriend, that was reported?
So actually, since we all landed at the table, they know all about this already. And this is
talk to
why,
us.
all right, this is why I'm in prison today, because we chose not to press charges because their son would go back to prison if my girlfriend pressed the charges against him shooting her. And we chose, because we knew the family, we chose not to. And before the mother could talk to her son to honestly let him know that this was gonna be all right, because I seen this escalating. I was smart enough to understand, to know that if I hurt somebody, I could go to prison for the rest of my life. Even my girlfriend at the time, she was going to college, and she had let me know that it was gonna be all right, that we had to, and it was just a part of me as the man. I felt this happened to my family, and I didn't do the guy anything. He was messing with me. But I took the life and I took it up on my own instead of me going to authority and
Yeah.
dealing with the situation.
All right, let's go on and move forward. Do you have any more questions?
No, I have no more.
About you, Mr. Green?
One question, how long between the time your girlfriend got shot, and the time you shot him, how long, what's the length of time?
Maybe 4 days.
Okay, that's the only question I got.
Okay, is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I vote first, but, it was my case. No, Mr. Polk, you're doing a real good job in prison. The warden had, great comments about you. But probably, you got to play it down from second-degree murder. You shot him. We can't take the law into our own hands. And it was reduced to manslaughter. So my vote today is to deny. Mr. Gray?
Yes, my vote's to deny. It was a reduced charge. You've only served 60-something% of a reduced charge. And I don't agree with that. It was a cold-blooded murder, the violence involved in it. And I appreciate everything you've done in the facility there. I really do. You're doing good out there. And but doing good there is acting normal here. And so you got to keep doing good there and showing us what you are. So my vote's to deny.
Mr. Tiller?
I concur.
Okay, you have 3 votes to deny. Your parole's been denied today. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the parole board's called back to order. It's 11:38. Up next, we have Mr. Cleveland Harris here for parole. Mr. Harris has two people that'll be here speaking on his behalf. Vanessa Harris, she's over there at the institution, Morton.
Yes, sir.
Vanessa, you there? And what about Brittany Marshall?
Yes, sir. Both here.
They're both there. Okay. All right, so they will be speaking on behalf. You'll have, we try to limit it to 3 minutes to speak so that we can hear everyone in one day. So I just wanted to let y'all know that. And also, we will allow 3 speakers per person. Okay, so first off, you were convicted, Mr. Harris, of first-degree robbery. Originally, you were sentenced to 20 years DLC. That sentence was commuted to 18 years. And your current dates are parole date 4/20/24, adjusted good time date 4/26/27, and full term date is 4/28. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, the way we're gonna do this, Mr. Harris, we're gonna let you speak first. I want you to tell us a little bit about the offense, what happened, why you were doing what you were doing, and also why should we give you a chance today and let you out on parole? So the floor is all yours.
Yes, sir. Well, the day of the crime, me and another guy that I grew up from a neighborhood, we was using crack cocaine. Yes, I have a drug addiction. And that very day, by nightfall, we ran out of money. We didn't have any more money to buy any more crack cocaine. And we started thinking about what we was gonna do next to get some more money to buy some more crack cocaine. And I asked him, did he have a gun? And he told me no, he didn't have a gun. So I know that they have this the store, it's an adult theater store. I know exactly where it was at. This is my old neighborhood. And I told him I'll be back. And I went to that store. But before going in the store, I looked around on the ground to see if I could find something sort of resembles a gun to make the robbery a whole lot easier and smoother as I could get in and get out. I found this piece of pipe, but it was bent in the shape of a gun and it had a rubber piece on it. And I put it in my waistband. I walked in the store. I noticed the store clerk was counting some cash on the counter. I walked around for a few seconds, pretending to be a customer, and I approached the counter and I snatched some of the money off the counter. And after that, I grabbed the cash register and slammed it on the floor. And until it popped open, I grabbed some money out the cash register and I ran out the store. That's exactly what happened then.
Okay, tell us why should we consider letting you out today?
Well, based on my past criminal history, the old Cleveland Harris, you shouldn't let him. I did some things that I deeply regret and I am sorry for. I have violated people and it was just totally unfair. But the new Cleveland Harris, not the same person. My worldview has changed. See it the way I see it now. It's not a single day you can turn on the news or read the newspaper and you see some act of violence. I don't want to be a part of that. I'm not going to be a part of that, committing those violent acts against people anymore. Since I've been here, I have applied myself extensively. Yeah, and I find that it's much easier to do the right thing. So I pretty much, but like I said, the old Cleveland Harris, you shouldn't. And I'm not that same person anymore. And I deeply regret. I'm sorry for whatever I've done to anybody.
All right. Okay, Ward, do you have anything to say about Mr. Harris?
I do, Freeman. You know, I'm gonna go through the normal spiel as always, like I always do. You know, he hasn't had a write-up in over 10 years. Uh, he's been a trustee for 9 years. His conduct record is exemplary. He's taken every class that we've offered to him. He has done the right thing for many, many years now. But in another direction with that, Cleve also works directly for me. He has for the last couple of years. I trust him around my family, trust him around my home, works at the warden's house here on the grounds. I talk to him every day, and I hear nothing but positive out of it. And he and I have had some very deep conversations, I can assure you. And you hear how in depth he went into what he did, and it's because he understands and he knows what he did. And there's not many over the years that I would speak for like this and saying that I truly believe that he has turned himself around. I've met his wife. I come into visitation and personally speaking with him, as I do a lot of families. He's got a very good support system. I believe she's going to do the right thing in keeping him in line. And I believe that he's ready to go back into society. I believe that he is ready to do the right thing. I pop into the house on a regular basis, and I actually, if it's raining or nothing, I catch him studying for a CDL license. I catch him doing things like that. I don't catch him sitting around and wasting his time. So he's done everything we've asked of him. He's done a good job. He's extremely respectful to all the staff and the rest of the inmate population here. I believe he's turned himself around.
Okay. Thank you, Ward. Cleveland, you ought to thank the warden because that's the most I've ever been talking in a long time. So he must like it. Anyway, okay, let's move on. We're gonna go to Vanessa Harris, his wife. Would you like to say something on your husband's behalf?
Hi. You hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I really think he has changed and he has accomplished a lot. And I'm ready for him to come home so we can continue to build and be a family, spend time with our grandkids, extended family who he hasn't met yet, grandkids. And I think he's ready. You know, he always talking about, you know, building and things that he want to do and spending time with his family, and he has a great support system.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, now Miss Marshall, his daughter.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Yeah.
I do believe that he is ready for society. He is a great father. He has, I know he is upset about the things that he have missed as far as like, you know, being there for my wedding. I know he's ready. He is a good person, despite the addiction that he has. But overall, the person that he is not the crime that he committed, but the person that sits here in front of you all today, that's who he is.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming. Okay, now I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Mr. Harris, okay, and you explained the crime pretty much to the T. I read the report and that's exactly the way they say it went down. you've done 14 of 18 years, of your sentence. How old are you?
53.
Okay. Is it 63? 53. And, how far did you go in school?
Well, I received my GED. I also got a associate's degree in Ashland University.
And what, okay. And, communications, right. I thought it. Okay. So, what do you plan on doing when you get out? Where are you gonna work?
Well, I'm a secure job. I have a friend that I used to cut grass with. His name is Keith Cloud. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give him a call. Because anytime I give him a call, he'll put me to work. But I'm gonna work for Keith Cloud for a little while until I find me something better.
Okay. What about your sobriety plan?
I plan on attending NA meetings because I have a story I have to tell. I believe people need to hear my story.
Okay, I agree with you on that one. Okay, you completed the Blue Walker program, am I correct with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you've had no relapses since? Any positive drug screens, anything like that?
No, I have not. No, sir.
Okay, you got a low risk, as the warden said, you got 5 write-ups, your minimum custody, you got a job, which is a very trustworthy job. What kind of, you done any community service while you've been in prison? Any kind of mentorships or clubs? I know, Warden, what's that club you have over there that y'all love so much? That's a good club.
Our Boys to Men program.
Yes, sir.
I did for 4 years. I participated in JP, the Juvenile Awareness Program. I also was in civil. What club? Yeah, Human Relations Civic Organization. I was also participant in that club as well.
Okay. All right. The judge is unopposed. The victim could not be located. In prior clemencies and hearings, he was opposed, but this time he was not located for this hearing. You have 3 children, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You have contact with all of them? I see your daughters here.
Yes, sir. All of them.
Good. And I have no further questions. Any questions from my colleagues?
How you doing, Mr. Harris? Good morning. Yes, morning. Still not noon yet. You're 53 and you say you were doing drugs?
Yes,
at
sir.
the time? Okay. Are you doing drugs now?
No, sir.
How long have you been incarcerated where you are now?
14 years and 3 months.
You've been there 14 years? Where
Actually,
you are?
I did a year and 6 months in Orleans Parish Prison before I come here, 2011.
Okay, I have no more questions.
No question.
Okay, it's time to vote. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, I'll vote first, since the case was assigned to me. Mr. Harris, you're right. Pete Freeman wouldn't have voted for the old Mr. Harris. I guarantee you I wouldn't have. But some tell me you have changed. I mean, the warden glowing comments, and I know him personally, and I really appreciate his opinions. You have a terrific disciplinary record. You've taken classes. You've got an education. Great family support. We thank y'all for coming today. It means a lot that we know he has support when he goes home. So, saying all of that, I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to vote to grant with the special conditions that you attend AA at least twice a week. And that you get with your parole officer, because I think you do have a good story to tell. Tell them what crack will do you. I mean, you pick something up off the ground, act like it was a gun. You know, what if that clerk would have had a gun? You'd have been in trouble.
Yes, sir.
So I want you to talk to at-risk youth. And that's my vote. Mr. Prater?
I vote to grant you a parole. I think you've done a good job since you've been there. You seem like a likable fellow. And you got good support. You've served most of your sentence. And the warden's standing up for you. You got good family support, so vote to grant.
Mr. Harris, I'd like to say first, Warden, you and your staff, I commend you guys for the job y'all are doing. And I want Mr. Harris to know that the warden, his opinion weighs heavily on my decision. I'm going to grant you your parole. And I hope you continue to do well.
Okay, so you've been granted today, Mr. Harris, on a 3-0 vote. You'll have to do 2 AA meetings a week and get with your probation officer about speaking at least, let's speak to 3 different classes, 3 different groups. So that'll be 3 hours of speaking, okay?
Sir.
Can you handle that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good luck to you. Good luck. We're closing out for the day and time is 11:55.
Thank y'all.